Good morning, everyone. This is Rama on Riding coming to you live from a beautiful, sunny and cloudy Sedona, Arizona. We've been getting a lot of rain and thunderstorms. The light shows from the lightning last night were spectacular, and it's good to be back home. That's all I can say. And that's a lot when you're coming home from Hawaii. So it's a challenge to have my foot in two places, but it works for me. We just got finished our largest ever riding retreat in Sedona last weekend. I think that there were 63 people live and another 7 or 8 people online. So it was a challenge balancing everything. And I got Tom Mike to be able to walk around and have the people online hear him. And that was a first. We got a wonderful mic set up, headset for him. And everyone moved ahead. We had 23 books finish on Friday, which I know has to be some kind of record. And there were a couple of authors that got pretty nearly done the full revision process at the retreat as well. So it was quite special. And Tom said that he worked harder than he ever did at any other retreat, and I thanked him for that and said, "It's good seeing you work hard, Tom," instead of me only being the one that works hard. He worked really super hard and really got all the authors moving ahead. Mary was Mother Mary there. She kept everyone happy and content and organized, and she did an incredible job. And I pretty much had the coast job, not having to do everything, and it worked out really well. The remote people did great, a lot of them working on revision, and we've gotten some submissions already from that. Dawn resubmitted for style edit evaluation, and I think Donna is just about ready to get her first draft up to Tom. And you know, a number of the other authors have moved into publishing as well. So it was an exciting retreat. Well, today we have the A-plus author and promoter of the program, as far as I'm concerned, Catherine Carrigan. Catherine and I have been talking probably the better part of 2.5, 3 years now. And I've seen her books go from that first one to this third one. And I know that the fourth one is more than halfway done as well. She is a writing machine. And I admire that because I struggle so much getting the time to focus on my work. Catherine has created the ability to balance work and writing and play and meditation and yoga and Tai Chi and gardening. So we all can learn a lot from Catherine. In addition, you know, she is a Twitter maniac. For those of you who didn't catch the email earlier this year, her Twitter account was named one of the top 10 in Atlanta this year. And that is truly amazing. And there is a Twitter story that I'm going to have her talk about at some point during this interview. She encountered something even more amazing than anything that happened up to this point. And, you know, so we all can learn from Catherine. Now, Catherine has got her new book out there called Banish the Blues Now. She has coined the Now series. It's kind of a branding component that has kind of come about through really the style that of writing that she does. And I think that again, the branding of this Now series is another step, another feather in her cap. So, Catherine, first off, tell us who you are, what you do, and bring everyone up to speed. And then if you want to talk about this third book that you've written, that would be great. And then we'll move into the topic of your blog posting that you did just the other day. So you're on, Catherine.
Okay, good morning, everybody. And I see a lot of familiar faces. I see a lot of friends. I see a lot of people that I have cross-blogged with. My name is Catherine Carrigan. I'm a medical intuitive healer. So what I do, there's two parts to what I do. One is I work with people all over the world by phone, Skype, and in person. I'm able to read the body, the physical body, the energy body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the spiritual body, and figure out what is wrong with someone, what's really going on all the levels. And in addition to that, I do natural healing. And I work with people all over the world to clear issues. And my goal in life is basically to help people be healthier and happier. And that's the subject of my books. People ask me, what do I write about? And I say, I write about natural healing and how to get healthy naturally. So this book right here, it's my third book that I've done through the Tom Bird method. And it's the fourth book that I have published. It's called Banish the Blues Now. I'm really proud of the cover photograph. I have to tell a story about the cover because, like the Beatles song, we all get by with the help of our friends. And I love the cover of my last book, Unlimited Energy Now. And I love the gentleman, Mainza, who did the cover. So when it came around to this one, I thought, well, I should get Mainza to do this cover. And anyway, poor Mainza, the last book, I gave him some direction because I said, all life energy moves in spirals, and I'd like you to do a spiral. On this one, I had a lot going on. I'm moving from Atlanta to Florida, so I just said, well, make me a cover. Well, anyway, poor Mainza, he made me 4 covers. And I would email the covers around to my friends, and they'd be like, no, no, no. And then finally, I went out to lunch with my dear friend, Maxine Taylor, who's also an Amazon #1 best-selling author. She'd been to a bunch of the Tom Bird retreats. And Maxine, I just love Maxine. And again, I want to emphasize one of my themes with working with all the others, we don't get to where we are on our own. We get to where we are with our friends. So Maxine and I go to lunch, and she's like, Catherine, none of these covers express who you are. They don't express your energy. So we sat there, and if any of you know me, I raise orchids in my studio. And so I was showing Maxine different pictures that I'd taken with my iPhone. And finally we get to this picture. She says, this is it. This is it. This is the one. This is it expresses you. So this is a Paphiopedilum hainaldianum orchid. And it was so spectacular that I have a very good friend in Scotland who makes flower essences from orchids. And when I sent him the pictures of my Paphiopedilum, he said, Catherine, you need to make a flower essence from it. So even though as a healer, I've used flower essences for decades, I'd never actually made one. So I made a flower essence from this orchid. It's called Reverence. I talk about it in my book, and it really helps you to see the beauty in life. And anyway, so when it came around to putting it, doing the cover, Rama created the cover for me. Thank you so much. But anyway, I'm really proud of my orchid. And inside, I have to show you all this because Rama did this for me. My last book, Unlimited Energy Now, we had little cutouts of one of my other orchids, which was a Catalea. So Rama did this. He took my photograph and then made it into black and white, and it's sort of a motif between the different sections of your book. So I'm just showing you all this, so you too can take pictures with your iPhone and get Rama to make them into little motifs through your book. So that's a good idea. So all right, help me out, Rama. What else do I need to say?
Well, Catherine, the first thing you have to do, or the next thing you have to do, is show them the back of the cover.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. So that's me, of course. That's me with an endorsement by my friend Maxine. And I have to say, I was kind of nervous when I gave the book to my friend Maxine, because when I wrote this book, the subject is all about how to heal depression without drugs. And I wanted to write the subject matter in a very uplifting way that was simple for people, but also uplifting. And anyway, so that was sort of the challenge, to deal with a very heavy topic in a way that was high vibration, uplifting, positive, and gave hope to people. So anyway, so I gave it to my friend Maxine. I wasn't sure whether she was going to like it. And she wrote me this great review. And I asked her privately, I said, okay, Maxine, I know you're a good friend of mine, but be honest with me. Did you really like my book? And she said, Catherine, I don't write anything I don't mean. So that was a big compliment. When you've got someone who's a very spiritual person, very positive thinking. And anyway, so we all need to help each other out, whether it's with our book covers, and for God's sake, don't do that one, or promotion and whatnot. So, but Rama convinced me. He's like, well, you need to have your picture on the back of the book. The other thing that we did in this book, and I'll show people, is inside the back, we have pictures of my 2 previous books here. So what we did was we put in black and white pictures of the 2 previous ones with a little description, so that if somebody likes this one, they go, gosh, maybe I should read Catherine's other books. So those are all ideas that you all can incorporate in your books as well. Is put your picture on the back cover, take a photo of something that you loved, and make it a motif, and get your friends to write reviews, and put the pictures of your other books inside your book.
I'm really proud of that cover, because we kind of just came up with the idea, and I think that in doing so we came up with a style. So we've really already got the idea for the next book, and I saw the picture up on Instagram last week. I said, oh my gosh, that's the one, because Catherine and I have been talking. And just to give you all insight, the first time that Catherine went through our publishing timeline, she literally called me twice a week. And Catherine and I became very good friends as a result of that. And and Catherine is very modest, and she's, well, you sure you have time to speak to me? And I said, look, if you've got questions, I've got time to answer them. And by doing that, Catherine was able to get the answers she needed in this process. And it was really a good lesson for both of us to stay in touch and to move forward as a result of that. So, Catherine, tell us what happened on Twitter when you posted the fact that you had your new book out. Tell us what the post was and what the result was.
Well, it's very interesting. I have to share this with everybody, because I've been blogging along, and I thought, I want to learn how to do this better. And I talked to Greg Kesey, our wonderful webmaster, and he told me about this website called something to the effect, Serious Bloggers Only. And there's this guy named John Morrow. And at any rate, if you sign up, you can get for free without paying for anything. He has this wonderful little ebook about how to write great headlines. And if any of you email me after this webinar, I will send that the link to that free ebook to you. So at any rate, it's basically copywriting and how to write headlines that get response from people. So what I had been practicing is when I write a blog, I'll write a blog, and then I will write maybe between 4 and 12 different tweets for that one blog. And I'll use the cheat sheet on the headlines, you know, how to write headlines that get people's response, the Zen of whatever, you know, 7 ways to do whatever, you know, how to be smarter than those dumb nutritionists or whatever. And I'll write these headlines with a bit.ly link to my blog. And then I will schedule them out through Social Ally, the dashboard, to go out throughout the day to Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Google+. I put it on Goodreads, Tumblr. I think I got it all. Anyway, 7 different social media sites. And at any rate, so it was a Monday. We finally published the book. Yay. Okay, great. So Tuesday morning, I got up, and I like to blog early in the morning when everything's sort of peaceful. My mind is quiet. I just wake up and get out of bed and start blogging. And I blogged about my new book that had been published. And I think there was one tweet that I wrote, and it was how to get rid of depression for good using natural healing remedies. And I used the hashtags. I put a hashtag on depression. I put a hashtag on natural. I put a hashtag on healing, and then a bit.ly link to the article. Well, my dashboard showed that was my most clicked through tweet of the whole month. So click through means somebody actually clicked on it and went to the site and read it. Well, that had 55 click throughs. So that was a Tuesday. So that sort of gotten going. And for the month of August, I had been blogging pretty regularly. I looked and I published 22 blogs in August. So the way I feel about blogging, I feel like blogging is like sketching. Like if you're an artist, you just sketch. And maybe some of the sketches are amazing and some of them suck, but it doesn't matter whether they're amazing or they suck. You just keep doing it. So I've been blogging regularly and then posting these things out. So I had been sort of building momentum. And what I noticed is I wake up in the morning, I'd get, you know, between 12 and 20 Twitter followers overnight. Well, that Tuesday, I published about my book, how to get rid of depression for good using natural healing remedies, bit.ly link. Well, long story short, as of 2 days later, on that Thursday, a momentum build, I got 1,000 new Twitter followers that day, on that Thursday. The next day, Friday, and I got so many Twitter followers that Twitter shut me down at 10:30. It was sort of funny because I'd sit there and at one point, I timed it just for fun. I thought, okay, I'm just going to see how many new people follow me in 5 minutes. So I have my little iPhone, I time it. 5 minutes later, 25 new Twitter followers. They were following me faster than I could follow them back. And it was interesting because I have hired Robin Charlson, who's Denise Casino's sister. If you talk to the two of them, they sound exactly the same. And I had Robin, and Robin's my Twitter lady. And what I'll do is I'll write tweets. And then when I write tweets for my blogs, I send them over to Robin. And then she sends them out. She basically puts out one of my tweets every hour. Well, anyway, when all this started happening on that Thursday, I called Robin. I said, what's going on? What are you doing? She said, I haven't done anything on your Twitter account in days. And it was interesting because I had one Twitter follower who followed me a sports team in Brazil who has over 1 million Twitter followers. So anyway, 1,000 new ones on Thursday, 600 new Twitter followers on Friday, and then over the week, that following weekend, I've got about 400 new Twitter followers. And I can't really tell you what the secret was, other than that I had been blogging regularly, so people were getting used to seeing my stuff. And then also I have a habit, whenever I go for a walk, I always take pictures of flowers. So if you've seen any of my stuff, you always see that I've got these beautiful flowers. Well, some of them are in my garden, but most of these are just flowers that I see out in the world. And so I had been posting a whole bunch of articles on Twitter about intuition, because I'm a medical intuitive, and how to use your intuition. And then I'm putting out these beautiful photos of butterflies. And then I posted about my book, and then everything just exploded. And it was quite interesting and very rewarding, because I realized that as authors, we really truly do have the potential to reach people literally all over the world. And it was super fun, because I was sitting there sort of looking at it. And fortunately, if you don't know, Twitter has a translation feature, because some of these would be alphabets that I'd never even seen before, and coming from countries I'd never seen before, and people I've never seen before. Bangladesh, Saudi Arabia. Of course, we've all heard of Saudi Arabia, but Poland. So people everywhere were really responding to what I was saying. And any rate, part of the reason that I work hard on Twitter is that Denise does her book launches on Twitter. And when I started on Twitter, I had 80 Twitter followers. A year later, I had 8,000. Now I'm very close to 15,000. So anyway, I just thought that was really interesting. The only other time that I'd had a big reaction on Twitter, this is sort of funny. I wrote an article about how to make healthy Southern fried chicken, because fried chicken, the way that it's usually made, is like, a heart attack. And so one of my tweets was, Southern fried chicken without the heart attack ingredients. And it just made me laugh. There was a massive response on Twitter, very negative. People sent out all these funny pictures, but why? It's not supposed to be that way. Anyway, the whole thing just made me laugh, that, it was very anti-healthy recipe. And, but this was very positive, because it really showed that people all over the world are really wanting, natural healing and wanting solutions that actually work without taking a lot of pharmaceutical drugs. So that's pretty much what happened.
Hey, Catherine, can you just elaborate a little bit on what happened with Twitter shutting you down, and how you got yourself back open, so that if anyone encounters that, they'll have a heads up and know something?
Yes. I think about 10:30 that night, Twitter just said, I was madly following back all these people who were following me. And so Twitter sent me a message saying, you followed enough people today, I'm translating, that you're done. and they just shut me down. And but then usually if they shut you down, they'll send you a little message so that you can get back going. But one of the things that Robin has shown me, a lot of these famous authors like Deepak Chopra, for example, Wayne Dyer, for example, a lot of them have millions of, I think Wayne Dyer had 500,000 Twitter followers. But what Robin showed me, a lot of these famous people, they have fake Twitter followers. And I asked Robin, I said, well, explain to me, what is a fake Twitter follower? And she'll say, well, if you look at them, it's an account, and it won't have a picture. Like everybody who's a real human usually will have a picture, and they'll be tweeting regularly about whatever they do. So a lot of these famous people, hire companies to create, to supposedly get them new Twitter followers. But what they do is they create a bunch of fake accounts, and then following, have the fake accounts follow their client. And Robin said, well, your people are all actual humans. So anyway, that was interesting.
Catherine, it sounds like you do a lot of social media. So I have two questions related to that. Number one, how much time a week are you spending doing social media? And how much of it is it real time versus scheduled things?
Okay, good question. Well, frankly, I do this social media kind of like I clean my house. In other words, I just sort of in between other activities. And when I joined the Tom Bird program, Tom and Rama had a bunch of webinars on different subjects. And one of the webinars that made the biggest impact on me was they had a webinar about games and about gamesmanship, okay? And basically what I decided to do was just look at the social media like a game. So in other words, you're up some, you're down some. You win some, you lose some. Some people like you, other people don't like you. It's just a game. So if you look at it just like a game, then it becomes sort of fun. And so to answer your question, I don't have a regular time every day when I do my social media, although I usually end up doing it in the morning. But I just sort of do it whenever I have a free moment, if that makes sense. And one of my big habits, which I think is a really good habit that's available to everybody. I'm repeating myself. If I go out on a walk, I take my iPhone and I take pictures. And the reason I started doing that was years ago when I started my blog, when I started these blogs with the help of Greg Kesey, who we all love. I found out that if you use photographs from the internet, you end up having to pay for them. And I thought, well, I'm just going to take my own photos, and then I don't have to pay for anybody. And anyway, if those of you who know me, I love orchids, I love gardening, and I love flowers. And I'm just very tuned in like a little magnet. And if I see anything beautiful, I'll just take a picture of that. And I'll put those on my blog. And I do believe that the world is a beautiful place. And I think that with all the barrage of negative news that we get all the time, people truly do need to be uplifted. And I use these photos. If it's anybody's birthday on Facebook, I send them I don't just say happy birthday, I send them a beautiful picture. And then I use my beautiful pictures as art for my blog. And then I also, if anybody interacts with me on Twitter or any of the social media, if somebody retweets me, I will respond, thank you so much, Tom, for sharing my story. Happy Saturday. And then I send them a picture. And you'll be surprised. First of all, most people really appreciate being thanked if they do something for you. And by thanking people regularly, and not just thanking them, but giving them this beautiful art, I end up getting retweeted like crazy. And my stories get shared a lot. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why I've made such progress in the social media, is I respond to people. I also retweet them. I'll go through when I get new followers frequently, and I'll read their stuff, because the other people on social media are just like us. They're hardworking people wanting to let the world know about whatever it is they do. And I'll go through and if I'm reading something positive, then I will share that. And by the way, for any of the other authors, if there's anything you want me to share, your book launch or a blog you wrote, just send me a little email. I'll be happy to retweet. Again, because nobody succeeds by themselves. You really succeed, as a team and with the support of your friends and people who are like-minded.
Catherine, when we met, and let's just say it was 2.5 years ago, I don't know exactly when it was.
October 2012.
That was very early on in my tenureship here with Tom. Would you consider yourself a techie? How versed were you with your computer? I mean, did you have social media going at all? I know you had a newsletter going, but maybe just give a feel to everyone of how your skills have grown just by doing stuff.
Yes. Okay. Great question. Well, I have to tell the personal story because in 2011, I got a divorce. My divorce was final. And before that point, my ex-husband had handled all my money and he handled every aspect of my business. Before that point, all I did was healing work. I hadn't balanced my checkbook in 18 years. I didn't run my website. I would write little articles and I'd write a newsletter, but he published my newsletter. He managed the website. Anyway, in my book, What is Healing? One of the things that I talk about is the blessing of a breakdown. So what happened was 2 months before my divorce was final, my computer broke. And at that point, I had one of those big desk computers, Mac computer. And I went to the Apple store and they said, well, the reason your computer broke is that you've been turning it off incorrectly for 4 years. So I knew so little about computers that I didn't even know how to turn it off properly. And then, so that was bad enough. My computer broke. And then 2 weeks after that, my iPhone broke. It was the iPhone at the time. And after the iPhone broke, I was at the Apple store. I'm lucky I'm living in Atlanta and, we have these Apple stores. And I was at the store and I was just basically crying because my computer broke, my iPhone broke, my fountainhead broke, the phones at the house had broken, every gadget you could think of was broken. And so I had to fix all this stuff. So what I did was I signed up. Apple has this one-to-one program where you can take classes and do one-on-one stuff, and they sit down and go, this is how you turn your computer on. This is how your mail program works. This is how iPhoto works. So anyway, I would go to all the classes because I thought, I don't know anything. Oh, and the other thing that happened was my QuickBooks, my accounting program also died. So everything, it was just a full-scale technological breakdown, and there I was. I didn't know anything. So I would just go to the Apple store all the time and get lots of help. So I'm a big believer in the Apple program, and I have a Apple MacBook Air and an iPhone 6, and those are my 2 and only gadgets. So so that was the background. Then I wrote my second book at the Tom Bird Retreat in Atlanta in October 2012. Well, I wrote that book, and then after I wrote that book, in the following summer, Tom and Rama, Tom Bird started this program on marketing. I think they had some beta group. And I'm an intuitive, and my guidance told me not to join the program. But because I have FOMO, fear of missing out, I joined it anyway. And anyway, when I had the first couple of sessions, I almost slapped myself because I was like, oh my God, I don't need to be here. But the good part about that was I was so mad at myself for having spent $2,000 to learn about marketing. I was so mad that I felt I had wasted the money. I thought, all right, well, I'm going to actually dig in and learn how to do this. So when I started in 2013, I didn't even have a Facebook page. I had a LinkedIn page, but other than LinkedIn, I had no social media at all. And however, the big picture is I really see the importance of doing social media. I have a very good friend who I will not name who had to sell her business because she got out marketed by 23-year-olds. And I love what I do. I want to keep doing it. And I have a real passion for sharing my information. So I thought, okay, it doesn't matter whether I want to do this or not. It's part of being a successful author in this day and age. So I have to learn how to do it, suck it up. And so I spend, anyway, so I just basically figured out how to do it.
Catherine, I remember those days, and I remember one call you gave me in February of one year, and you mentioned that the marketing tools that you did learn, and you learned them, of that group, you were really the only one that actually pursued what was taught. And there was a result from that marketing that extended well beyond your book. So maybe you can tell that story as well. And you related to the fact that you had friends with businesses that were, their business were going down and your business was going up because of your ability to market. So just in your own words, kind of share how the marketing transcended past your books themselves.
Yeah, well, I would say that, since the time when I wrote What is Healing, I've had a 300% increase in my business. And I'm sort of looking at the big picture. I knew that I was going to be moving one day, and we're right in the process of moving. As some of you know, I usually live in Atlanta. And my fiance and I have bought a house north of Tampa in Trinity, Florida. And even though I have a nice, solid business in Atlanta, I wanted to be able to move and continue working. So that was one of my primary motivations to work in social media, because I do have a business where I can work with people all over the world. I have clients in Sydney and London and Philadelphia and Los Angeles and all over the place. And I can work with them by phone and Skype. So I really wanted to do that. So in a nutshell, I think I've had about a 300% increase in my business. And I really credit the Tom Bird program for teaching me how to market, because I had written newsletters for years. But other than my newsletter that I would send out as an email, I didn't really know how to market. Now I see the importance of it, and it's part of doing business. It's like doing your accounting. It doesn't matter whether you like it or don't like it. It's a necessity if you actually want to have clients. And again, I have lots of clients who have businesses, and they're very good at what they do, but they're not marketing properly, so they're not reaching the people who need their help.
Catherine, were there times, during this timeline, I mean, we're talking about a fairly long timeline, were there times when you, would think, well, boy, I'm wasting my time with this social media and nothing's happening? And if there was, what kept you going?
Okay, that's a good question. Well, my understanding about social media, a lot of times people do something and they want an immediate result. So for example, if I go for a walk, I'm going to feel better while I'm walking and after I walk. But basically with social media, what you're wanting to do as an author is build your platform. So you're wanting to reach out to all the people who might be interested in your books, who might be interested in your information. And you don't, frankly, bluntly, we build our platform literally one person at a time. And, again, we have to think of each person that we interact with as an actual human, unless you're getting fake followers like some of these famous authors who just pay somebody to pad their Twitter accounts. But these are actual people, with hopes and dreams and fears just like us, and you have to do that over time. So I've gotten a lot of results out of doing all this. I've been invited on radio programs. People share my information. I've had increased followers. More people read my blogs and comment on them. I get more clients. So you can't look at it like as what's happening today or even this week. It's about building this audience. I don't know if that helps.
It does. What I was really getting at, and I think that this is the critical component, is that when I speak with you, when I speak with Deb McTernan, the one thing that I hear over and over again is, Rama, some of the things that I did 2 years ago are now starting to bear fruit. And I don't think that any of us initially came into this program with the understanding that this was a long game. And I've changed so much in my understanding of, what we have to do. Not to say that I do it. I'm not like you, Catherine. I like talking about doing stuff. I'm not as good a doer as you are. But one day, everything shifts. You have to start somewhere. And I think that, you've shown that to me that, boy, if you get started and continue with something, it will grow. And the hardest thing may be getting started. I mean, as I say, we've spoken so much over the years that, we know each other quite well. And, you are one of my role models. When I was actually looking at your training, that was the last section of your book. I was like, holy cow. I mean, some of the stuff I didn't understand what you were talking about, but, just all the different things that you've done over time kind of has come together for you. Now, here's the loaded question, and then I'm going to open up the forum for people. What is the one piece of advice that you might give? And this might actually be the lead into that new blog posting that you wrote just the other day. So let's go into this transition here and tell us, what is the blog posting that you wrote? What's the title? And what is it all about? Because I think that kind of sets the framework for the next section here.
Okay, well, if I'm going to be on somebody's program, I appreciate being here with Rama and everybody here and all the people who are going to listen in the future. I actually, my heart's desire is to be of service. And yesterday, Friday, I sort of tuned in and I thought, okay, I just got that each of us as an author probably has a soul contract to share certain information. And I said, this is really coming up for me because the very first book that I wrote was about holistic treatments for depression. That was published in 1997. And this book, Banish the Blues Now, is on a similar subject, all about how to heal depression without drugs and all using natural healing remedies. So what I wrote about was in the blog, if you're an author and you're stuck, sometimes we think, oh, I really want to write about one thing. But what I'm really obsessed about is this other thing. Like I happen to be obsessed about orchids, and I happen to be obsessed about gardening, and I happen to be obsessed about yoga. Well, maybe there's these other things inside you that need to be expressed. And so I feel that each of us, and Tom Bird probably would have the greatest insight about this, each of us probably has a soul contract to communicate about certain material, and that after we, fulfill that soul contract, if you will, then we may be allowed to express other things. But we've got to sort of get that off our chest before we can do other things.
Catherine, to take it a step further, first off, Tom actually did mention a similar line of thinking at the retreat. So you're right on, and you weren't even at that retreat, so I thought that was really fascinating. And I think I would like to confirm this a little bit through my story. You know, I wrote my first book. You know, I knew that that book was a book I had to write. The first book didn't really encompass the whole vision of what I had in mind with that book initially, but I knew that I had to get something accomplished. I had to get one book done. Well, since then, I've started 3 or 4 other books. And, you know, I'd get started, but I just couldn't take it to the next level. And then it dawned on me in my first retreat, the first thing that I wrote was a topic that I'd never, ever thought about writing about. And that is what my second book is right now. And in retrospect, I see that I didn't really have a choice here. You know, that was the contract that I made, and that book has to come out before I can get to the third book, which, you know, I know now what the third book is about. So I think that you're, you know, right on that we have made these soul agreements to write about certain topics, and if we're trying to write a different book, that we run into the blockage from that. And I just, you know, would like to get more confirmation from you in your experience, because you've written 3, 4 books. You're halfway through 5. You probably know what 6 is at this point in time also. But you know, maybe you could just share a little bit about the process of, you know, kind of knowing what to write about.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And, you know, I know a lot of us authors who are listening today and who are, again, listening in the future are very spiritually minded and have a real spiritual basis to our lives. And I was very blessed this year because I went on a cruise in March with Esther Hicks. I went on an Abraham Hicks cruise. And if you've ever been to any of her programs, she has thousands of people in the audience, and then people will raise their hand to ask a question. Well, the one and only time I raised my hand, I got invited up on the stage, and I actually asked her about writing. And in a nutshell, what I asked Abraham about was how to make writing easier. And I can't really distill for you the wisdom of that, but it was funny because Abraham was telling me I was working too hard because I was explaining that I was getting migraine headaches. So what I've pretty much decided to do is just to make writing as easy as possible. And what I notice about myself is that I can do almost anything as long as I make it easy. If I make it difficult, then I can't do it. So for example, I'm not great at accounting, which is probably not a surprise to anybody, but I just make it easy. And once a month I meet with an accountant. And so what I like to do is I have a laptop because then I can move it around. I'm not somebody who likes to sit at a desk. I hate sitting at desks. That's my idea of torture. And my favorite place to write is lying in my hammock with my laptop. That would be my favorite, followed by number 2, lying in bed with my laptop. And so basically what I like to do is just wake up first thing in the morning, and before my ego mind can start telling me what a bad idea it all is, I get in my laptop and I just start writing something. And I have done sort of a mind map on the new book that I'm writing. And Tom Bird says that rather than having lines, what you do is you draw a circle around it. And I have done that. But then it's funny, even though I have this so-called little outline, what I really do is I just sort of listen, and I get ideas about, now this is what you're supposed to write on, now write about that. And I talked to Tom Bird recently, and I said, well, you know, I actually followed your advice because Tom had told me, he said, Catherine, you need to write every day. And so I told Tom, I said, lightning flash, I'm actually following your advice and trying to write every day. And what I notice is that I feel better when I write every day. Personally, I try and exercise every day. For me, I feel better when I exercise every day. I went for a walk this morning. It makes me happy. And so if I can just get something down on my computer, and again, I don't worry about, is it brilliant? Is it not any good? I just get up and I'm basically half awake, and then I just write something. And then sometimes people really respond to it. I always can tell if it's good because people share it or comment about it. And other times you think, oh, this is great, and nobody seems to care. But you just focus on doing it, and not worrying about, is it any good or not. I do the same thing with my exercise, because sometimes I'm tired and I'll do an easier workout. Sometimes I have a lot of energy and I'll do a harder workout. But most of the time I just try and make it easy. And anyway, Abraham Hicks pretty much said the same thing as well. Just figure out a way to make it easy. So what I'm doing, frankly, on the next book, I thought I actually like blogging, because I like taking my beautiful flower pictures and combining it with a little story and then blogging it out. So I'm writing the rough draft as a series of blogs. Actually, all are the first people that, other than Tom and Rama, that I've admitted that to. And then I collect the little blogs so I know about how many words. But I'm going to keep going until I feel like I'm close to some sort of conclusion. But personally, I'm not someone who handles stress all that well. That's why I'm a yoga teacher. That's why I do all this stuff. I hate to be stressed out. And so I try not to put any pressure on myself, and I just do it in a real easy manner. And what I notice is that my writing is almost a barometer for my mental health, because if I get upset or worked up about things, then I have a hard time writing. But if I keep myself on a nice, calm, even happy, if I'm in my happy place, then I can write regularly. So if I'm not writing, that tells me there's something bothering me, and I need to resolve that issue so I can get back to the writing. I don't know if that's helpful.
It's very helpful. Everything that you say is very helpful to us. Okay, at this point in time, if people have questions for Catherine or comments, you can unmute yourself and you can ask them, or if you want to just wave at me, I can unmute you. Whatever works is fine. I'll check the chat box to see. Nothing new. So who has a question for Catherine? Okay, Cheryl, let me unmute you here. Okay, Cheryl.
Hi, Catherine. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much for sharing all this with us. I have a question. You've mentioned Twitter a lot. What do you do on Facebook?
Well, every blog that I post, and if you don't have this on your blog, definitely ask Greg about this. If you have a blog in WordPress, which hopefully you do, there is a function called Jetpack. And with Jetpack, and it's really important that you do this, so that when you hit publish on your blog doesn't just get published on your blog, it immediately gets sent out to all your social media connections. So when I hit publish on WordPress, it goes to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Tumblr, Google+, and then I put it on Goodreads, which is a social media site for authors and readers, and I also put it on Pinterest. But by doing the Jetpack, and frankly, I'm just as much of a troglodyte as anybody else, to be honest with you. I remember Greg when he found out about the Jetpack, he said, Catherine, you need to have the Jetpack. And I thought, oh my God, something else to learn or figure out. It's so easy. because all you got to do is connect it, and then you hit publish, and then it's on Facebook. It's
Okay,
idiot proof. You know, that's what we need, idiot proof.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Thank you so much.
Just to clarify what Jetpack is, it is a plugin for WordPress. And there are lots of, types of things like that you can add to your WordPress website. The Jetpack is one of the necessary functions, and Catherine just explained why. Anyone else have a question or comment? Well, let's see. I see Bill here. I'm going to unmute Bill. Okay, Bill.
So, have you moved yet, or are you on your way, or?
Oh, well, I'm in that wonderful, stressful place where half my junk is in Atlanta and half of it is in Florida. And I'm just trying to relax as much as possible. Last week I had some unexpected, unhappy news in my family, which got me really upset, and I wasn't able to write for about a week. I knew I was pulling out of it when I was starting to write. But basically, I have to go back and forth between Florida and Atlanta. And once again, what I'm actually seeing is that when I write, I feel better. I already know that when I exercise, I feel better.
Oh,
and when I write, I feel better. And if I just, again, I think it's really important as authors that we set aside the part of our brain that wants to tell us that we're not any good, that nobody cares, and you're full of shit, and nobody's going to read it. And I mean, I remember it's so funny because it's 8-hour drive from Florida to Atlanta. And on one of my last drives, I listened to the audiobook for Unlimited Energy Now. And I'm listening to it, I thought, gosh, this is actually pretty good. And I remember that when I was writing it, I thought, this is full of shit. Nobody cares. That whole, monkey mind. And so I think it's helpful when we write to, put yourself almost frankly in an altered state. That's why I like to write when I first wake up in the morning, because I'm not awake. And I just get in the hammock and then I start writing about whatever. And then when it comes to the end, I just hit publish and I don't worry about whether it's good or not. But to answer your question, I'm not in Florida yet. I wish I was, and I wish my house would sell. And so I'm just trying to keep myself mentally, emotionally together while going back and forth between two states.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard to do. You're in flux. But as soon as you're comfortable with that, something will happen and you'll be able to move, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the city of Atlanta is doing major construction on the road in front of my house. And this summer they had, these gigantic cranes that I'd be on my porch trying to write. And you could hear, just all this crashing around. You couldn't even hear yourself. So,
wow.
Anyway.
Well, it's really good to see you, and I really appreciate your input. It's awesome.
Thank you. And I want to just share with everybody, a lot of the people here I've cross-blogged with. When I cross-blog, I will publish one of your blogs for every blog of mine you publish. This is really important. We share audiences. We build our audience. So every blog that I publish for you goes out through all my social media. And I know some people have mentioned that it has helped them, gain more followers and hopefully more interest. So it's about collaboration, really.
Yep.
Okay, Tom Pitts has a question. I'm going to unmute him and mute Bill back up here.
Yes, Catherine. Cross-blog and reprinting some of your stuff actually did help, I think. That was the only thing I did different, and all of a sudden the action on Pinterest is actually picked up. And I think it was from, I guess, for lack of a better word, cross-pinning.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for that. Now, a two-part question about book reviews. Are they important to you, and how do you get them? And also, I like to give 4-star reviews because I kind of want to reserve my 5 stars for the major New York Times bestseller books that I love, Hemingway, Donna Tartt. And I can't give everybody a 5 stars. I just wonder if do you worry about getting 4-star reviews?
Okay, great question. Well, so yes, I do really want to have more reviews. And what I've done for this book, Banish the Blues Now, was I sent out emails to a bunch of my friends, and I said, in order to get, Amazon is very strict. I don't know if anybody has encountered that or not, but in order to write a certified review on Amazon, you actually have to buy the book from Amazon. Because there have been times I have a web store on my website and people bought the book from me and then tried to write a review on Amazon. Well, Amazon will shut you down in a heartbeat. Also, if you write a review, you can't put the author's name in it. You can't go, I really like Catherine Carrigan's book. They won't publish that. The other big thing, and I know because I've tried to help cross-promote some of the other Tom Bird authors, Amazon has figured out that we are working together, and Amazon will no longer publish any of my reviews for any of the other Tom Bird author books. So I used to try and write reviews for my Tom Bird author friends, and they will not publish them. So big pictures, what I've done on this one was I sent out emails to some of my friends saying, please buy my book and write a review. And I said, if you do that, I will give you the audio book for my last book, Unlimited Energy Now. So I tried to do that as an incentive. The book just got released September 1st on Amazon. So I've had some friends saying they were going to do that, but nobody's published a new review at that point. As far as what your comment is about 4-star reviews, everybody has in their head a rating system. Like I may think it's a beautiful day, but somebody else experiencing the same day may not, it's too hot, it's too cold, it's too cloudy or whatever. So I think everybody's got an internal rating system, and that's okay. I think the main thing that we want is we want to get people reading our books, commenting on our books, talking about our books, and sharing our books. So I know on Unlimited Energy Now, somebody gave me a less than 5-star review, and they said it should have been longer. And yet somebody else said, you covered the topic as thoroughly as anybody I could have commented. So I thought maybe they didn't read the whole book. Who knows? So I also think as authors, we need to develop thick skins, and, easier said than done, but just, I think there's a good phrase, there's no such thing as bad publicity. I was just on a radio program, and the guy who interviewed me, when he put it up on iTunes, his comment, and I even told him, I said, I had 55 click-throughs when the tweet was, how to let go of your depression with natural healing. So on iTunes, even after I shared this important information about what worked, on iTunes he put, can eating greens get rid of your depression? And I emailed him back, and I thought, frankly, in the nicest way, I thought, this is really an insult. Because I even said during the interview, nobody's going to say that eating broccoli is going to cure your depression. And I felt that he was belittling the subject matter. But then he emailed me back. He said, oh, greens is, everybody's searching for information about greens. So I just thanked him for being on his program. And, the fact that he called it something I thought was stupid, it doesn't really matter. So the main thing, again, is just sharing the information.
Okay, yeah, thanks. releases a few demons. And I just thought of something, maybe what we can do, and I'm going to try this, is start a discussion about the book. There's a place for that on Amazon and Goodreads. So we can discuss each other's books until I figure us out.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Dawn, you've unmuted yourself. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I do. You know, first of all, thank you, Catherine. This has been fabulous. And I've heard you before and the same before. So you're really developing this beautiful thread through these conversations. And I live in Atlanta too, and there's nowhere that doesn't have construction. So time to get out and go somewhere else, I think. But anyway, one of my questions is, and I clearly need to follow you on Twitter. I'll do that as soon as we're off of this. How long are your blogs? What do you kind of use as a guideline for a number of words?
That's a great question. I usually try to blog at least 500 words, but if I look at my most recent blogs, to answer your question, at least 500 words, but some of them have been even recently going a little bit longer, like 800, 900, 1,000 words. And just kind of like when we wrote our books, you know, and we thought, how do I know when it comes to an end? And somehow you do. And I think it's the same thing with a blog, is you write along and then you'll just know, okay, now I need to stop talking. And I think I mentioned that I subscribed for 2 months to that website, seriousbloggersonly.com. And what I really liked about it, I liked his free handout about writing great headlines. And what he said is that your headline is more important than anything you say in the blog. And I thought, well, that's an interesting perspective. I think that if we're going to be on the social media, you've got to have images. If you notice, things with a picture just get shared a lot more than things without a picture. But I'll just sort of get into that relaxed state, write the blog, and then it'll come to an end. But at least 500 words. And I know what my keywords are, but I don't really focus on that. I just really focus on writing whatever it is that I have to say.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it's nice to know there's no real top limit. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, one of the things they did say in Serious Bloggers Only was they said that because people are reading this on their computer, people don't like to see big blocks of text. Mm-hmm. So in my blogs, my paragraphs are going to be pretty short. Like a long paragraph would have 3 sentences in it, because you have to look at. What I'll do is I'll write it and then I'll look at it, because you've got to make it easy for people to read. And as we've all experienced, people are not only reading on their computer, they're also reading on their mobile devices.
Great.
And lots of white space, lots of images, lots of white space, lots of bullet points, lots of lists.
Great.
No, I just want to add something that came to mind when Catherine said that. Her books are very spatial also. You know, she has a good sense on, not trying to condense it, and, so she has short paragraphs, spaces between it. In her current book, she chose a rather large font, and many authors shy away from that. I don't personally. I like large fonts, so I understand really clearly with Catherine what she's doing, and this is something that doesn't happen with most authors. Just a heads up there. I got another unmuted author, Donna.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you for all your good suggestions, and I really enjoyed everything you've shared with us. I have a question. I'm basically working on my first book at the revision stage. Is it important for me just to jump in to social media and start getting some, blogs out and so on about the book?
That's a great question. And I think that we have to be compassionate with ourselves, because let's face it, everybody who's written their first book you know, I mean, you feel like you're reinventing the wheel. And it's mentally challenging because every time you turn around, you're learning something new. And it's emotionally challenging because you're, at least for me, you know, I'm scared. Is it going to be any good? Does it make any sense? Is anybody going to read it? Am I wasting my time? Am I wasting my money? But to answer your question, I would absolutely say yes. And somebody else asked me this question. The big picture is, Dawn, that you want to start your social media now so that when you actually publish the book and launch the book, that you've got people that you're already connected with who are sort of waiting for your information. Putting it on the negative, if you publish your book and you don't have social media connections, it's okay. My dog's in the house. If you publish your book and you don't have social media connections, then you're not going to have as big of an impact on reaching the people who need to read your book if you don't. What I would do, the other piece that Tom Bird talks about, he talks about the importance of writing while we're editing. Because when you get into that left side of your brain where you're like realizing all your egregious errors, it's easy to get down on yourself as an author. Versus when we're in that writing phase where we're letting it flow out and we're more in our whole brain, our right brain, and we're in that feeling good stage. So the answer is yes, I think it really is important that you start blogging now. And even though it feels like a lot on top of what you're already doing, set up your website, set up your blog, connect the jetpack so that you can start building this audience. And just be patient with yourself. And just realize that if it's hard for you, it's hard for all of us because it's just overwhelming. So just be patient. And
thank you. I also would like to know how do we email you?
Oh, okay. You can email me. It's Catherine with a C at CatherineCarrigan.com. And if you send me an email and ask for it, I'll send you that link to that great free ebook about how to write good headlines. And the guy talks about, like, if you go to the checkout counter at the grocery store and there's all those junk magazines, but they get your attention because they've got these great headlines, how to lose weight in 3 days. And there must be something I don't know. So I'll send that to you if you send me an email, and I'm also happy to cross-blog with everybody.
Thank you very much.
Catherine, can you also give the names of your various websites? Yes.
I have two websites, CatherineCarrigan.com, CatherineCarrigan.com. That's my favorite website because it's got all my beautiful orchid pictures. I've also got another website, UnlimitedEnergyNow.com. And on UnlimitedEnergyNow.com, I've got boatloads of free exercise videos. I've got boatloads of free websites. I've got boatloads of free downloads about natural healing. So there's a huge amount of free stuff on Unlimited Energy Now. And on both of those websites, CatherineCarrigan.com and UnlimitedEnergyNow.com, you can sign up for my newsletter because I'll send out a newsletter every month. And with the newsletter, you get all kind of freebies and discounts on this and that, and a lot of good information.
Dawn, you've unmuted yourself again. Do you have another question?
Just to say, as I'm really getting to know LinkedIn better and using it more, using the blog feature that they've now put in called Pulse. My blog also goes immediately to LinkedIn, but I think if I start blogging on Pulse, I will actually get a lot more readers on LinkedIn. So just for people to know if they aren't aware of that.
Yeah, and my comment is that once you write a blog, you post it as many places as you can figure out. Find as many free places, because all you got to do is cut and paste and put it there. and that's going to help increase your readership. And you just never know who you're going to connect with, who is going to share your information.
And just to drive that point home, Catherine was the one that sent me an article, boy, it's probably a year ago now, maybe 6 months ago, that was entitled, "The Blog is More Important Than the Book." And as a result, I actually did 2 webinars that I titled that. And I really believe that the blog is what gives us the legs, because it can go in so many places. They're short pieces, so nobody has to invest a lot of time. And you know, if you have a lot of blogs, once they find one, they want to read what else you have to say. So it really has a lot of traction. I know in my case, even though I haven't blogged, I did pump social media prior to my book being out. I mean, a year and a half before the book was available, to the point where I don't think anyone really believed that I would ever get this book done. But the moment that I showed a picture of the book in the box that they came in on Facebook, within 30 seconds, you know, 30 books were sold. I mean, it was that quick. So priming the pump, getting this stuff in place is really important. And I just wanted to say one more thing that Catherine did mention that I think a lot of us are missing out on, is that you heard her say that wherever she goes, she has her phone and she takes pictures. Nowadays, it is so easy to share from the phone. And just because we're a bunch of old fogies and don't, you know, our thumbs are big and we're afraid to click the buttons, that no longer is an excuse, okay? We can do it. And I experienced that this summer with Instagram, you know, clicking pictures, posting it. And I didn't even realize that most of these pictures are going to my Facebook as well. You know, I didn't even set that up. The phone is smarter than I am. Any other questions or comments before we close out for today?
Yeah, I have one other comment, and that is that if you notice your own behavior on social media, if you see something that says buy my stuff, more than likely you roll your eyes and turn away. But on the other hand, if you see social media where they're talking about topics that you care about, you're going to connect with that person and connect with that subject matter. I think that when we do the social media, part of going back to the blog, you actually, you know, go figure, want to actually say something. And so by blogging regularly, you're sharing your thoughts and information out in the world, and you're not just saying, buy my book. And by creating these partnerships and creating friendships with people you've never met of like minds, then when you do, like this Friday, Denise will get on my Twitter and tell everybody, buy Catherine's book. Well, hopefully all those people who have, you know, been reading about my blogs and connecting with me, now when I have something that I really want to push and sell, they're going to connect with that. But it's just really important, I think, that we blog and share our ideas, so rather than just using social media as a sales tool, because that's a big turnoff. So when you're, you know, 90% connection and 10% selling, I think you're going to do way better when it actually comes to selling.
You know, and the last thing I'm going to say is that in addition to writing the books, having the print version, the ebook version, Catherine has stepped up to the plate and she has created audio versions of her book as well. So she's really looked at how to saturate the market with all the different types for all the different readers.
Yeah, and I think that goes back, Rama and everybody, to making it easy. So the reason that I use the larger type, last year I got migraines from being on the computer too much and having to get glasses. So I think the more that we can make our books easy to read in every form or facet, how it's written, how it's being read, and the audiobook version. There's a lot of people who won't read an actual book, but they'll listen to an audiobook. And I had 2 nightmare experiences with a gentleman who I will not name, but there's a wonderful gentleman named Steve Piper who just who produced the audiobook version of Banish the Blues Now. And I have a wonderful reader. And I don't read them myself. It's not my talent. You don't want to listen to my voice, but I have a professional reader. And it's part of about making the books accessible. And it didn't cost that much.
And we will have Steve Piper on one of these webinars in the future. He sounds like a great guy. I've spoken to him a few times, and he's very open to helping the authors. He's also a video production person, so maybe doing some short YouTube videos of reading a chapter or section of your book might be something in the future. Anyone else have a comment before we close out today?
I do. I'm going to read. Oh, have you got it, Lynn?
I had one more question, but go ahead.
Okay, this is a question from Lynn. Her microphone is not working. So her question is there a way to avoid getting stopped on Twitter when we're following 50 a day, like Denise suggests?
Okay, and the answer to that is I don't know. If Twitter is stopping you, then you're probably following too many people. My sort of understanding is that if your total Twitter followers is like below 1,000 or 2,000, then Twitter's pretty generous and gentle with you. But once you go over that, what I generally do is I wait for people to follow me. Sometimes I follow people, I initiate it, but mostly I wait for them to follow me. So if they're stopping you, then you're following too many people. And what I would do is I would focus on creating content that people want to share. And A, create the content, and then B, when people do share your material, interact with them, retweet them. And if you go through and retweet and interact with people, they're going to start following you back. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, she also said that Denise had her unfollow 100, which gets her going again, but that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, there's something called Manage Flitter, and it's free, and you can connect your account and then go through and unfollow a whole bunch of people who are not following you back.
Okay, that's free.
Yeah, and then the last thing, there's something called Twitter Analytics. And Denise knows about it for sure, but you can Google Twitter Analytics and it will show you, it'll go through your recent tweets and it'll show you, this one nobody cared about, this one, 10 people responded to, and it'll show you the tweets that you're writing that are good. And then you can, the good ones, the ones that are not total duds, you can share those over and over again because you know that that people are responding to that topic and they're responding to that headline. So yeah, I would if you're having trouble with it, I would interact more with people, and then you're going to have less trouble.
Okay. Yeah. I noticed when I click on my picture on my Twitter homepage, and this is on my desktop, it gives you a whole drop-down menu, and I can go to Twitter Analytics, or Analytics it says. And I click on that, and there's all kinds of stuff to explore there. So that's a really good thing to do if anybody hasn't done that yet. So,
Donna, do you have one more question?
I had one more question. Maybe you've already mentioned this. I'm just curious to know, now that you've had several books published, how long does it take you to do a first draft on a new book?
Well, I like to go to the Tom Bird workshops.
Okay.
And like this one, my fifth one, I'm writing along a little bit every day. But again, I'm not putting any pressure on myself. I really don't know when I'll be finished. And I'm signed up. Bill Murphy and I are going to go to the Tom Bird workshop in November. If I had it all my way, I would finish this book before I went to the November one. But at the same time, I realize that I'm under a lot of stress moving and stuff like that. So I'm just going to, let it happen the way that it's supposed to happen. But I like going to the Tom Bird workshops. I find those to be, frankly, a very profound spiritual experience. And it's very emotional for me. I cried at the end when I finished What is Healing. But it's tough, but good.
Wow. Thank you. And good luck.
Good luck to all of us, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and we got to give everybody credit because it takes a lot of courage to write a book. And we all know we all have a million friends who want to write a book and don't get it done. There's a difference between people who want to do it and people who actually do it. So it's a real character. It's a real affirmation of your character that you can not only write the darn book but get it published. It takes a lot of tenacity to do that.
Thank you, Catherine. I just wanted to say Catherine gave us some good resources. I'm going to Google those websites, and I will post links to my Facebook page, Rama on Writing. So if you've forgotten what they are, I wrote a number of things down. Catherine is a great resource for us, and I really just want to thank you, Catherine, for stepping up and sharing your experience with us.
Oh, thank you. And again, we're all in this together. Cross blog with me, send me email. Let's be friends. It's the only way to, get this done. And I'm very thankful because my friend Maxine, who's written 7 Amazon #1 bestsellers, has been so kind and generous with me. And that's how I feel like we need to be with each other. Because it's
Exactly.
We're in a club. The Published Authors Club. It's a good club to be in.
Yep.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to tune out. Next week, we might have Greg talking about the website vision, like a general vision, because I think sometimes we get caught up in the minuscule detail stuff, which he needs to get the website going. But I think that sometimes we need to look at that big general vision as well. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and thank you again, Catherine.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.